never talk to Black Jesus like that.
I thought Michael Jordan was a better player than me. That's the only player I ever played against I thought was better than me.
Michael Jordan's greatness wasn't carved by numbers alone. Yes, the 6 championships, the 5 MVPs, the endless reel of highlights. They tell one story, but the truer, sharper legend lives in the memories of those who dared to share the floor with him. What made Jordan terrifying wasn't just the dominance on the stat sheet. It was the way he carried himself when challenged. Teammates, rivals, even close friends, they learned the same cruel lesson. You do not provoke Michael Jordan. Every glance, every word, every slight, whether real or imagined, was gasoline to his fire. Reggie Miller felt it. Charles Barkley saw it. J.R. Ryder regretted it. To Jordan, every possession was war. Every game is a championship. Every insult a spark. These stories reveal him not as a player, but as a force. Savage, unrelenting, and utterly unwilling to yield. At Amazing Hoops, this is what we live for. The raw stories, told by the men who stood across from Michael Jordan and felt the weight of his fire. The rivalries, the mind games, the moments when a glance or a word turned into merciless payback. Tonight, through the voices of legends, we uncover what it really meant to face the Black Cat, MJ. Reggie Miller built a career on audacity. He was lean, sharp-tongued, and fearless, one of the greatest trash talkers the NBA had ever seen. But when the subject turned to Michael Jordan, even Miller admitted there were lines he refused to cross. In his own words, Michael was the one guy I didn't trash talk, because if you did, he could embarrass you, and he'd come right back at you harder. That caution came from experience. As a rookie, Miller once mocked Jordan during a preseason game. He remembers shouting,
Michael, who do you think you are? The great Michael Jordan? That's right, there's a new kid on town, right?
Jordan responded by scoring 44 points and delivering a chilling warning.
You never talk to Black Jesus like that. Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Black Jesus. I'm so sorry.
From that day forward, Miller knew the rules. Poke the bear, and you will pay. Before, Reggie Miller had already spoken openly about his battles with Michael Jordan. He once described MJ as,
he was Shaq of shooting guards.
a player with no weaknesses, too strong and too complete for anyone to crack. Miller also made the distinction clear between two legends.
But Mike is the best
basketball player ever.
Then came 1998. The Indiana Pacers, young and hungry, stood toe-to-toe with Chicago in the Eastern Conference Finals. It was the lone playoff collision between Miller's Pacers and Jordan's Bulls, and it became a 7-game war. Miller described it simply, "You're measured by your competition." And to me, Michael Jordan was the best basketball player I've ever seen. Game 4 offered one of Miller's most iconic moments. With 2.9 seconds left, he curled off a screen, shoved Jordan just enough to create space, and drilled a three-pointer that sent Market Square Arena into chaos. For a brief moment, it looked like the Pacers could dethrone the dynasty. Yet Miller knew what they were up against. We pushed them to 7. But it was Michael. He just would not let us win. Legends on the outside echoed the same respect. Larry Bird, then coaching Indiana, admitted, "Michael was the best I ever played against, and the best I ever coached against." Even in defeat, Miller's defining series came not from silencing Jordan, but from surviving him. And here's the paradox. Miller thrived on trash talk, but against Jordan, silence spoke louder. That restraint itself became respect. Because when even Reggie Miller, the league's most notorious talker, chose his words carefully, it told you all you needed to know. So the question lingers, what does it say about Jordan's aura that the one man who lived to provoke was forced to hold his tongue? Charles Barkley has told some of the sharpest tales about Michael Jordan, stories that expose the deep, almost absurd level of Jordan's competitiveness. One Barkley quote sums it up.
That afternoon, Chuck says, "Hey, guys, we played 18. Let's go." Michael said, "I'm going to play another 18. Chuck said, "We got a game tonight." He says, "I'll be good." That's how crazy Michael is.
That's MJ after doing 18 holes of golf, when most would be content to rest, yet choosing to grind another 18 before a game. Barkley recalls this happening the same morning as a Team USA semifinal versus Puerto Rico during Olympic qualifying. After 36 holes, MJ was still locked in. Barkley goes on, "Chuck, I got him," MJ says despite being exhausted. Why? Because Barkley says,
He said some shit about me in the newspaper, and I'm going to get him.
even after all that golf, Jordan insisted on guarding a point guard who had publicly dissed him. Barkley,
He played 36 holes of golf, and he's guarding this dude like it's game 7. And he's talking, "Don't you ever say my damn name again."
the room was silent. It was one thing to talk trash. It was another entirely to let Jordan carry fatigue and still dominate mentally. That story isn't a hyperbole. It's been repeated in golf and NBA circles, and each time the jaw drops. Barkley also shares versions of it on video. In Charles Barkley Talks Golf Bets with MJ, where he recounts how MJ would make ridiculous bets, make excuses of fatigue or appearances thereof, and then torch his opponent anyway. There's also a YouTube short showing Barkley saying, MJ played 36 holes of golf before a game and was still locked, referring to that same day. What makes these moments savage isn't just the physical toll, walking those fairways, swinging clubs, but the mental demand. Barkley's words, he would not let this little dude dribble. Even that phrase stings. The exhaustion from 36 holes, the early morning golf, the hangover or sunlight or whatever discomfort, Jordan swallowed it all, hoisted a sword anyway, and carved into whoever stood in his path. Did that point guard from Puerto Rico ever regret what he said? Almost certainly. Did Barkley? He laughs about it now, but in the retelling, you can hear the respect laced with disbelief. We often say MJ was different, but hearing Barkley, you understand different meant unmatched obsession, refusal to coast, even when everyone believed there'd be mercy. Jordan didn't just respond to trash talk, he weaponized it. And Barkley, among others, was there to witness it, to pick their jaws off the floor. Darrick Martin learned one of the toughest lessons in NBA lore. Don't mouth off to Michael Jordan unless you're ready to be the headline. The story starts innocently enough. Martin, a young guard, had spent time scrimmaging pickup games with Jordan while Space Jam was in production in LA, soaking up confidence and storytelling ammo. But confidence has a sting when used against the wrong man. In the 1996-97 season, Martin's Vancouver Grizzlies had just surprised people with some flashes. The Grizzlies were leading the Bulls in the fourth quarter, and MJ was having an off night, weak from the field, quiet in the first halves. At that moment, with about 10 minutes to go, Martin made a fateful decision. He called out Jordan. Hey, Mike, shh, it's not falling tonight, Mike. You're having an off night, Mike, Martin later admitted, nearly daring Jordan to prove him wrong. Jordan responded the only way he knew, by staging a counterattack. In those final 6 minutes, Jordan poured in 19 points, flipped the game, and sealed a come-from-behind win for Chicago. As the final seconds ticked away, after hitting the game winner, he glanced toward the Grizzlies bench, looked right at Martin and said, I told you about talking trash to me. Martin has reflected on that moment repeatedly.
I poked the bear that night, and he showed me truly what greatness meant. And so that was a learning lesson for me.
J.R. Ryder's story differs, but carries the same moral. Ryder once described how rookie Kevin Garnett, standing courtside or nearby in a game, started talking up Ryder's performance against MJ in the fourth quarter. Garnett said things like, he can't guard you, keep going at his ass, serve him right in Jordan's presence. Ryder himself quietly objected, recognizing there were rules one didn't break when MJ was in the building. MJ circled back in that same quarter and poured in clutch baskets while staring down the trash talkers. Ryder said, KG didn't understand that we don't talk to Mike like that. Jordan's retaliation was quiet in words, loud in performance. These stories do more than entertain. They reveal a pattern. Jordan didn't need to be perfect every game, but he never let trash talk slide. He stored it. He waited. And when provoked, especially at times when it seemed he was vulnerable, he turned vulnerability into domination. The question lingers. How many games saw opponents lose because they underestimated not just his physicality, but his almost preternatural will to silence disrespect? Even among the pantheon of the 1992 Dream Team, Michael Jordan's competitive intensity stood apart. The roster was star-studded. Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Karl Malone, David Robinson, and yet Jordan had a way of making that constellation of greatness his backdrop. Magic himself once recounted messing with Jordan during a Dream Team practice.
Showed us, say, hey man, if you don't turn into Air Jordan, we're gonna blow you out today.
That taunt, playful but loaded, was enough to light the fuse. Jordan didn't laugh. He didn't debate it. Instead, after the timeout, he canned 4 straight three-pointers, then quite literally flew over. ascending in silence before slamming down a 360 dunk over David Robinson. Magic describes the moment vividly. Jordan seemed to lock eyes midair, measuring Robinson, the rim, the moment itself. The dunk wasn't just a highlight. It was a statement. That kind of reaction reveals not just skill, but the unbreakable mindset. For Jordan, there was no practice mode. There was only dominance. Magic's dialogue crackling in that gym, telling Jordan to step up, demonstrates how even legends knew you couldn't sleep on him. Everyone in that room felt the shift. When Jordan is challenged, especially by someone as respected as Magic, he doesn't just respond, he becomes the standard. What's striking is how Jordan used the trash talk not to antagonize, but to perform. Magic's line, "If you don't turn into Air Jordan," wasn't cruel. It was a dare. Jordan accepted, and he left no doubt. Among peers like Bird and Robinson, that dunk became whispered lore, proof that Jordan didn't just play to win, he played to impose order, to remind everyone that in his presence, greatness wasn't optional. Does that one practice moment matter in the grand scheme? Absolutely. It showed that Jordan's dominance wasn't reserved for finals or playoffs or packed arenas. It lived in every shot, every drill, every moment someone said challenge. What would you trade to have been a fly on the wall that day? To see that spark, that dunk, that look? Because if you ever doubted MJ's drive, that story demolishes it. What cements Michael Jordan's legacy isn't just the rings, the statistics, or the highlight reels. It's what legends themselves have said about him. Reggie Miller, who chased Jordan's shadow for many of his 18 seasons, once admitted in an interview, "To me, Michael Jordan is the greatest player. I will go to my grave with that." It's respect earned through collision, through nights when Jordan erased expectations and turned pressure into performance. Karl Malone, a mountain of a competitor, has been equally candid. Malone reflected on facing MJ and notes that Jordan's most dangerous weapon wasn't just his athleticism or clutch moves, but an unrelenting mindset. Malone made it clear,
"Everybody say this person was a bad man and all that. Well, yes, I give them respect. But I got a setup. I'm a man, and I was a bad son of a bitch too."
He emphasized that he was never intimidated by Jordan's reputation, but he recognized how Jordan's relentless drive fueled him and forced every opponent to elevate or get left behind. Magic Johnson also chimed in on Jordan's approach to every moment. During interviews and retrospectives, Magic has repeatedly told stories of scrimmages, of late-season games, and of garbage minutes, where Jordan treated each possession like a final buzzer moment.
Say, "Hey, man, if you don't turn into Air Jordan, we're gonna blow you out today."
Larry Bird, another of the big three of that era, struck similar notes through his words and demeanor. While I didn't find a verified video yet that includes the exact quote, reports often say, Bird acknowledged Jordan as a standard. Someone Bird respected deeply for how he played, how he demanded excellence, and how he dominated not just through talent, but through a kind of internal, relentless drive. After Jordan's legendary 63-point explosion against the Celtics in the 1986 playoffs, Bird captured the awe of everyone in the arena with a now famous line,
"That wasn't Michael Jordan out there. It was God disguised as Michael Jordan."
These reflections from Miller, Malone, Magic, and Bird are more than tribute. They are evidence. Evidence that Jordan's greatness was felt, feared, and admired by those closest to the game. They show that his legacy is built not just on what he won, but on how others experienced him in the arena. When he turned up the heat, when he responded to talk, when he showed up even when many thought he might take a night off. So here's a question worth asking. In today's game, how many superstars are defined not only by their scoring or championships, but by how the greatest among them spoke about them? What kind of respect must one earn so that legends don't just praise but also salute? What threads all of these stories together is the rare psychology that defined Michael Jordan. He didn't wait for motivation to appear. He created it. A stray word from a bench player, a joke during practice, even the faint memory of a past slight was enough to spark him. Most players conserve energy, coast through moments, or save their intensity for marquee games. Jordan was different. Every possession, every quarter, every setting was proof of his superiority. To let up, even briefly, would have been to compromise the identity he built. Magic Johnson saw it up close during the Dream Team practices. He admitted once, "I made the mistake of talking trash. I told him, if you don't turn into Air Jordan, "We're going to blow you out today." The result? Magic remembers Jordan hitting a series of jumpers, then rising for an impossible 360-degree dunk over David Robinson. The message was clear. If you doubted him, even for fun, he'd bury you until you never forgot it. Teammates echoed the same. In The Last Dance, Scott Burrell recalled that Jordan constantly prodded him, trash-talked him, pushed him. To many, it seemed harsh, but as Jordan explained, "My mentality was to go out and win at any cost." His teammates eventually admitted it forced them to raise their standards. Will Perdue once confessed, "He crossed the line numerous times, but in the same breath, he made me a better player and better prepared for the playoffs." Jordan weaponized practice the same way he weaponized games. Jordan himself put it plainly, "I play to win, whether during practice or a real game." That was not bravado, it was code. He didn't separate the bright lights of the finals from the dim anonymity of a preseason scrimmage. Everything mattered, because everything was a chance to dominate. That intensity crushed opponents, but it also inspired teammates, forcing them to meet his level or get left behind. So here's the question. How many stars today live this way? How many can take a small comment, a slight nod, or even silence, and turn it into a reason to destroy you? Jordan did it nightly. His savagery wasn't just physical, it was psychological warfare. And that is why rivals feared him, teammates revered him, and the game itself was elevated whenever he stepped on the floor. One game perfectly captures Michael Jordan's uncanny ability to transform provocation into domination. It was the 30th of November, 1995, the Chicago Bulls versus the Vancouver Grizzlies. Darrick Martin, the Grizzlies' point guard, had been jawing at Jordan all night, trash talk flying after every score, every missed shot. The Bulls were sluggish, Jordan was missing shots, frustration visible. Then Martin leaned in. He said something like, "Told you we're gonna whoop your ass tonight." It was bold, maybe too bold. From that moment, the tone shifted. Jordan tied his sneakers, went back in. Something clicked. What had been a typical game, with Jordan off target and Vancouver with momentum, turned into a showcase of his resilience. In the final 6 minutes, MJ erupted. 19 points alone in that stretch. Each possession was a message. Shots that had clanged earlier now fell with fierce precision. The Bulls, under Jordan's command, erased the deficit and stunned the Grizzlies. Final score, 94-88. Jordan finished with 29 points. Martin, caught in Jordan's glare, became a footnote in one of his many comeback stories. After the final buzzer, Jordan tracked down Martin on the bench. There was no handshake or nod of respect at that moment. Jordan simply said, "Shut up, you little bitch." Harsh, direct, and as history would remember, deserved. It wasn't merely about scoring. It was about claiming every slight, every disrespect, and letting the performance answer. What's remarkable here is how quickly Jordan flipped the script. From subpar shooting, from crowding pressure, to total control, all within moments once Martin challenged him. It teaches us what many legends have noted. MJ didn't wait for adversity to find him. He leaned into it. He turned mistreatment into fuel. Not every trash talker gets schooled so theatrically, but when that person is Jordan, spectacle ensued. How many players today could change the narrative in 6 minutes? Could you be down hot, eyes tired, shots cold, and then, because someone said something, shift into a mode where missing earlier seemed like practice? Jordan did that night. This is more than athletics. It's a psychological masterclass. This is why opponents were frightened, why teammates were inspired, and why Jordan's legend isn't just built on what he did. It's how he reacted when you thought you had him. Michael Jordan's greatness wasn't confined to box scores. It lived in the way he made peers nervous, in how he punished arrogance, and in how he refused to ever let up. These stories, Reggie Miller's restraint, Barkley's golf bets, J.R. Ryder's regrets, the Dream Team's awe, all tell the same truth. Jordan wasn't simply a basketball player. He was a competitive force of nature, someone who would turn a coin flip, a trash-talking rookie, or a meaningless exhibition into an arena for domination. That savagery defined him, and it remains the reason why, decades later, his legend still feels larger than life. If you like this video, don't forget to press the subscribe button and ring the bell to not miss the latest videos from Amazing Hoops. Please leave your comments and suggestions below in the comments section, and don't forget to share this video with your friends. This action also motivates us to try harder. Have a nice day.